I want to make this bag. Spring is here, which means lighter layers, fresh colours, and the perfect excuse to dive into some new knitting and crochet projects. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a roundup of some spring-friendly patterns that I also think on the whole will be great stash busting projects. As many of you know, this year I'm trying to work through my yarn stash. So when I'm thinking about new projects, I want to make sure they're ones that can make use of my stash as well. From small balls of leftover yarn to those one skeins that you just don't know what to do with. I'm sharing some projects here that I think will be good patterns for spring and stash busting. So grab your yarn, get comfy, and let's jump in. And if you're new here, I'm Emma of Wander and Create with Emma. Welcome to my channel. In my YouTube channel, we talk all things knitting and crochet with the occasional other yarn-based activities like travel and yarn store shopping. In 2025, I'm on a mission to get through my relatively small yarn stash, which you can see more about in my other video episodes. And today we're focusing on our spring knitting and crochet plans. Please remember to like and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy these videos so you don't miss any future vlogs from me. So although I already have a few works in progress on the go that will probably take me through spring, I wanted to start having a look through Ravelry and through Pinterest, having a look at styles that are trending at the moment, as well as things that in general just appeal to my style, and have a look for patterns that are very spring friendly, but also would make use of yarn stash. So when I've been looking through the patterns I'm going to share here, I've been focusing on any that I think would be good for one skein projects, good for using like tiny balls of leftover yarn, and then also just for using up those other random leftover yarn balls you have from other projects. So all the patterns I'm going to be sharing today I have saved into a Ravelry bundle page, which you can find in the link in the description. And where possible, I've also saved these patterns in a Pinterest board in case Ravelry isn't available to you. Although I haven't been able to find all of the patterns I'm going to list here on Pinterest, so I've done the best I can, and there's also going to be other patterns added as and when I find them. I'll just keep adding to that bundle and onto that Pinterest board as I find them. So if you use either of those platforms, I highly recommend finding that board and giving it a follow so you can see them as I add to them. I will have the links to both the bundle and the board below too, so you can access them really easily. And I've also summarized all of the contents of this video into a blog post that's available on my website, wanderandcreatewithemma.com. And you'll be able to access all the links to all the patterns through that blog post. As I'm recording this, it actually doesn't feel too spring-like here in Vancouver. We're back to the atmospheric river and the rain. It's even scheduled to maybe snow one day next week, so it really doesn't feel like spring is coming here, but I know that it is. We have some crocus out, daffodils, it is there, and I'm keeping focused on that by looking at the spring patterns and getting excited for like the spring wardrobe and accessories. As usual for my pattern roundup videos, I'm going to be splitting these patterns into vague categories, starting with kind of different types of garments and then finishing with accessories. Okay, battery died there, so it's now about 4 hours later. If it looks a bit darker, that is why. But anyway, let's get into these patterns. The first category that I'm going to start with is long sleeve sweaters and cardigans, with the first pattern being the Ship-Shaped Sweater by Heidi Kermeyer. This is a knitted sweater and the pattern costs about 13 Canadian dollars. This is a stripy sweater, which obviously is going to be good for leftover yarn because you have the opportunity to do different color stripes, mix up a couple of different skeins if you have them, so that's always a good thing. But what I particularly like about this sweater is the construction of it. The triangle on the shoulder, I believe that's where you start the pattern. So you knit that triangle there and then you kind of work on the rest of the shoulder, the back and the front from that triangle. Seems a bit different. I don't think I haven't done that personally. I don't see that in patterns too much. So I liked that, it kind of gives it quite a cool style. It's knit with a DK weight yarn, and I think like a cotton or a linen blended yarn would work really well to make it a good spring summer knit. And the pattern is available in 13 sizes from an XXS to an X6, 6X. Next up is the Good Vibes blouse by Katerina. This is a crochet long sleeve top and it's available for $11.50 Canadian. I think this blouse would be a great layering piece for the spring and then obviously more of like a beach cover up going into the summer. I really love the kind of minimalist simple look of this blouse. It's made with a fingering weight yarn and the designer within the description encourages you to dive into your stash and make use of it, which is probably why it came up, because in my search I was using the terms spring and stash busting and scrap yarn just to see what came up, because I wanted to kind of cover a broad range and not just see like the trending patterns. But yeah, I really like this one. To be honest, I'm quite tempted to make this project. I'll have to have a look in my stash and see if I've got anything that I think could be appropriate, but I really love the look of this. I love the potential for the colours, minimal or really colourful. Yeah, I like this one a lot. A kind of similar vein, but a knitted, I saw the Plumentis by Julie Knits in Paris. I did see that a potential like spring summer trend this year is the kind of meshy, like transparent, almost opaque wear. And this looks so floaty and light and airy. It looks really, really pretty, especially with that kind of knitted solid collar against the kind of light meshy look of the rest of the blouse. Really, really pretty. So as I said, this is a knitted top and it's about 10 Canadian dollars from Ravelry. I guess this one isn't necessarily a stash buster piece. Not all of the patterns are going to be. This just kind of caught my eye as I was looking through kind of spring type patterns. It's knit with a lace weight yarn. I think this again is a good layering piece. Probably I would wear something underneath it, but then in the spring I might wear like a cardi over the top of it. And then obviously again in the summer you may not need to have anything over the top of it and it would be kind of a great evening wear piece. I think if I was to make this I'd be tempted to knit it in black, even though I know black is a bit difficult to knit with. I just think for me, I'd really like that as an evening go-to option. The Sea Glass cardigan by Wool & Pine is a great stash busting one. I tend to always include a Wool & Pine pattern in here just because they always are designing with leftover and stash busting in mind. I really love their designs. They're very stylish, even if it's like a scrappy project. Like the Sea Glass cardigan, it incorporates many, many colours, therefore enabling you to get through all those little leftover balls of yarn you might have in your stash. And even though I'm always pointing to their patterns, I actually have yet to knit one myself, so maybe that's something that I need to get done this year. This is a DK weight yarn. It's a raglan style cardigan knit from the top down. I think it looks super cozy. I can imagine like camping in the spring, in the evening, sitting around the fire, wearing this cardigan, like very cozy look. In the description it also says that they include a technique that allows you to weave in the ends as you go with an I-cord method. So that sounds like a dream. Even more reason to try and knit this one. And if I didn't say already, this pattern is listed for 13 Canadian dollars. And then finally in the long sleeve sweater cardi category is the 9 patch by Coco Knits. I have heard of Coco Knits. I know all the kind of tools that they sell, but I didn't really know that they had patterns as well. So I was looking through Ravelry, I saw this pattern and thought it looked very cool. And I realized it was Coco Knits. So again, this is another knitted pattern. It's listed for 18 Canadian dollars and it's a kind of cardigan vest mashup. Looks like you can add a tie to make it a tie wraparound, or you can keep it open and more like a vest. I found like these kind of square patchwork quilt-like looking design of it a little bit different. It uses fingering weight yarn and intarsia colourwork method. I will say though, I was looking again at the pattern description for this just before I started recording, and it does look like you need to be familiar with the like Coco method to make this design. And when I was having a look at what the Coco method was, it looked like you need to buy a book to get the technique, which is obviously very smart. However, this technique does look like pretty cool and probably well worth the investment. It said in the description that the Coco method is a top-down method that allows the knitter to try on as they knit and customize along the way. So I am super intrigued what this method is, and yeah, I think it's probably worth looking into, and I just generally really like this design, so I am intrigued to learn more. My next category is shawls. I'm into shawls now, I get it. For the longest time when I started knitting, I knew that shawl knitting was really popular. I didn't quite get it myself. I didn't understand why someone would want so many shawls. I'm a convert now though. Now that I have recently knit two, I knit the woven shawl, and then I've done the Sophie hood, which is not really a shawl, but you know, same idea. I get the drawer because they're such a nice, easy project to take on the go. They're nice and cozy at the end of the day. Oh, I'm also knitting that tiny dot shawl. I knew there was another one. And they can be kind of simple, easy, meditative, and that's real nice if you're also making something more challenging. It's a nice mix-up. Or they can be challenging in themselves with different shapes, different pattern stitches. So yeah, I'm totally into it now, and I think there's going to be a lot more shawls in my future as well. But first up, for this category and this collection that I'm sharing in the video today, I have the 3rd Street shawl by Tony at TL Yarn Crafts. This one is Tunisian crochet, which is actually something I haven't done before either. And the pattern is available for about 10 Canadian dollars. This is stripy, so this is why I selected it from a leftover yarn point of view. It also looks like there's a lot of different stitches used within this pattern, so it's keeping it challenging if you want something to like mix up and not be doing the same stitch over and over again. This looks like a good one. For me especially, the blue section here, the pattern stitch here looks particularly interesting. So yeah, I think this would be a good leftover yarn project. I would just have to learn how to do Tunisian crochet first. Next up is a knitted shawl, the Ziggy Triangle by Layla Raven. This is knit with a sport weight yarn, and I really like the kind of chevron stripes of this. This pattern does use the infamous spin cycle yarn, that colour changing yarn that is everywhere. And it's paired with a solid yarn to make that kind of colour changing chevron stripes against the solid stripes. However, obviously, if you have another colour changing yarn in your collection, you could be using that. Or I don't see why you couldn't just change your colour of yarn for every kind of coloured, contrast colour stripe that there is. But yeah, if you have ever bought one of those spin cycle yarns and just have that one souvenir skein because you couldn't afford to buy any others, maybe this is the pattern that you can use it for. I believe it said in the description for this one that it just about gets you through one skein of each of the like changing of the contrast colour and the solid colour. So perfect if you have those souvenir skeins or one-off skeins. And then lastly in shawls is the Star Girl shawl by Gabriella Tremino. This is a crochet shawl available to purchase for 3 Canadian dollars. It's a fingering weight yarn that it uses, and as you can see it's very colourful. It's using that kind of granny star stitch that's like very appealing, very retro looking. But additionally with this shawl, I kind of like this ruffle edging that's around the edge of it. It just adds that extra kind of funky, unique look to it. And I think this would be great if you had a bunch of minis, like from an advent or something like that. You could obviously use it here. And as always, any other leftover kind of smaller balls of yarn you have. Okay, then going back to garments, my next category is tops. So this is going to be more of like a short sleeve tee or a vest that I'm focusing on here. So very much kind of a spring and summer style patterns. And first up, I'm looking at the Curious top by What Lydia Made. I've been following Lydia on Instagram for many years now, and she is a very cool designer, very inclusive. I love what she does with her pattern designs. This top is 20 Canadian dollars, which maybe seems expensive compared to other patterns, but reading this description, knowing what they do with their pattern designs, I think this is probably well worth the investment. What initially drew me to this design was the kind of edging in the whole of the chest, the armholes and the neck holes being those contrast colours. It obviously clicked with me because I thought, oh, well, there's an opportunity to use up smaller leftover yarn against that more solid base. But also looking more into it and looking at other samples that they have made. For example, this one here with the wording on it, obviously that's a great way that you can be using up other yarn and having that colour work piece. I'm not sure if the technique for adding like your own wording is written in the pattern, but obviously it shows you what can be done. But in reading the description, it's clear that this pattern contains a lot of customization options to make it a good fit for your body type, from bust darts to allowing to having short row increases at the front. For your body shape, you often find that the front can be shorter than the back, which I've experienced myself sometimes. So I really want to buy this pattern because I'm so intrigued to see all these different customization options. I love the idea of how inclusive it is and how it's kind of considered a total variety of body shapes. Another top is the Sailor Swift top by Kutavakika Knits. I love Veronica and her knits. I mean, her vlogs are very inspirational to me. That's kind of what made me want to start this journey, because I love her videos and how she makes them. This pattern is $10 Canadian, and obviously you can probably guess the appeal for this particular pattern collection is that it's stripy and you can use different yarns, blah, blah, blah. I won't repeat myself, you know the drill. But yeah, I wanted to include her because I do love her work, her designs, her vlogs, etc, etc. Yeah, and I think this would be a great spring-summer staple. And then lastly in the tops collection is the Vibes Tee by Tiff Hand Knits. This is another knitting pattern and is about $13 Canadian. It's made with a fingering weight yarn, and obviously it's that more like t-shirt style of garment. What I liked about this one is it is stripy, but I liked the kind of eyelet rows in between the other stripes that kind of break it up a bit, make it look a bit more interesting. And this one has like 4 different stripe color options and opportunities. I won't repeat myself again about that, you know. And the construction is a circular yoke that's worked tops down. And the body length is customizable, so you can make it whatever length of your preference. Okay, and then my final category is rather broad. It is accessories. And first up is the Morningstar Cowl by Candice English, who is the Farmer's Daughter Fibres. This is a knitted colourwork cowl, and it is about $9 Canadian. As you can see, there is a lot of pattern and colour work going on with this pattern, so it's a good one if you're looking for something to keep you engaged all the time. I do think cowls are good for the transitional season. I find that they tend to let a bit more air circulate, and they're just kind of like less fabric than a scarf or a shawl tend to be. Next up we have Hemispheres, which is a hat by KC Knitting. So it's obviously a knitted hat. It's $12 Canadian. This looks like it's a new pattern out just last month. I like the kind of modular colour work of this. It is knit flat with intarsia colour work method and then seamed together. I liked the overall shape of it, and obviously you incorporate different colours. But yeah, I found this kind of geometric look. Looks very like stylish, minimalist, yet fun, and like a fun thing to knit. The pattern is available in 3 different adult sizes, going up to a 24-inch head circumference. Next is the Circo bag by Kinko B. I think this is so cute. It's not necessarily spring, I suppose, but you could make it spring-like if you choose the right color combinations. It just looks like such a cute little dumpling of a bag. I love it. I think it's available in 2 sizes, a small and a large. It's knitted, and the pattern is on Ravelry for $7.50 Canadian. It's a drawstring pouch design using stranded colour work with a fingering weight yarn, although the description of the pattern does say that you could use a DK weight yarn. I want to make this bag. I think it's so cute. It could be a cute little project bag, or just when you need just something small to keep your purse in, your phone in, your keys, and you're done. This is high on my list to make next for sure. And then my final accessory, and actually the final pattern of this roundup, as a pattern designer myself, I felt like it would be a miss to not mention one of my designs. And so keeping with the bags, I'm going to promote my Salt Spring Bags collection. So this is a pattern, 3 patterns in one collection that I released last year. They're crochet bags made with a worsted weight cotton yarn. I have a tote bag, bottle holder, and phone holder. These are great bags for spring and going into summer, particularly the bottle holder and the phone holder. They've been great. I've used them a lot on hikes or like an evening walk where I don't want to take much with me. I just need something to put my phone in, put my water in, and off I go. And the tote bag itself is good if you're going to a little market or doing some light shopping. So yeah, I had to include my patterns, I'm afraid. But yeah, they're listed on my website, on Ravelry, and on Etsy if you're interested. So that's the 15 spring-like patterns that I found and wanted to share with you today. I hope you found some inspiration for your next spring knitting or crochet project, and maybe also something that will use up your stash. Let me know in the comments which pattern caught your eye. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a like and subscribe for more knitting and crochet inspiration in the future. As I've said before, 2025, I'm working through my stash, so I'm going to be doing a lot of these kind of pattern roundup ideas, plus kind of frequent check-ins on how I'm doing at working through my stash. I'm planning to do a 6-month weigh-in in June. So I weighed my whole stash at the beginning of January. I'm planning to weigh it again in June, and then I'll do it again at the end of the year just to see what progress that I've made. So stay tuned for that. Thank you for hanging out with me today. Enjoy your projects, whatever you're working on at this time of year, and I'll see you next time.